Hello and a very warm welcome to my channel Coins Worth Million, each and every one of you tuning in today. We are absolutely delighted to have you here, and I want to take this very special moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our new viewers, our loyal subscribers, and everyone who is joining this journey with us right now. This video is not just a simple start, it is the beginning of a meaningful connection between you and this channel. So let's get it started. The 1995 Australian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is one of those small, everyday coins that most people hardly notice when they pass through their hands, yet it carries within it layers of history, design, symbolism, and technical significance. As part of the decimal currency system that Australia adopted in 1966, the 5-cent coin was among the smallest denominations and quickly became a familiar piece in the pockets and purses of Australians. By 1995, almost 3 decades after decimalization, the coin had already built up its own identity within the national consciousness, becoming a quiet but constant presence in daily life. The 1995 issue, although not rare in itself, belongs to an important chapter in the nation's coinage history, as it represents continuity, stability, and the enduring presence of Queen Elizabeth II on Australian money during a period of both global and national change. To truly appreciate the 1995 Australian 5-cent coin, one must recall the history of decimalization. Australia, like Britain and many Commonwealth nations, once operated under a system of pounds, shillings, and pence. This system, while traditional, was cumbersome, with 240 pennies to a pound and 12 pence to a shilling. By the 1960s, it was considered outdated for a modern economy. On the 14th of February 1966, Australia officially switched to a decimal system. 1 Australian dollar equaled 100 cents. The new coinage included 1 cent, 2 cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, 20 cent, and 50 cent pieces, along with new banknotes. The 5-cent coin effectively replaced the old 6-pence coin, which had a similar size and purchasing power at the time. By 1995, decimal currency was fully entrenched in the economy, and a generation of Australians had grown up knowing nothing else. The 5-cent coin had become one of the smallest coins in circulation, both in physical size and in value, yet it retained its essential role in completing everyday transactions. On the obverse side of the 1995 coin is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Maklouf. This portrait, first introduced in 1985, was the third major effigy of the Queen used on Australian coinage since decimalization. Maklouf's design is distinctive because it portrays the Queen in a more idealized, almost regal manner compared to the earlier portraits. She is shown wearing the George IV state diadem, a crown encrusted with diamonds, pearls, and floral motifs. The diadem had been traditionally worn by queens on state occasions, especially for the state opening of Parliament. Maklouf deliberately chose to emphasize the Queen's dignity and majesty, creating a timeless image that could endure for decades. Around the portrait is the inscription, Elizabeth II Australia 1995, which identifies both the monarch and the issuing nation, along with the year of minting. By 1995, Elizabeth II had reigned for over 4 decades, and her image on Australian coinage served as both a symbol of continuity with the Commonwealth and a reminder of Australia's constitutional monarchy. The reverse side of the coin features one of the most iconic designs in Australian decimal coinage, the short-beaked echidna Tachyglossus aculeatus. This extraordinary animal, a monotreme or egg-laying mammal, is unique to Australia and New Guinea. With its spines, long snout, and specialized tongue for catching ants and termites, the echidna is both unusual and distinctly Australian. The decision to place the echidna on the 5-cent coin was part of a broader design theme of showcasing Australian wildlife across the decimal coinage series. The echidna design was created by Stuart Devlin, the Royal Mint's official goldsmith and jeweler, who was commissioned to design all the original decimal coins. His work managed to capture the essence of the echidna in a compact, circular frame, showing its rounded body covered in spines, with its long snout bent downward. The number 5 appears prominently below the echidna, clearly marking the denomination. Devlin's wildlife designs became beloved national symbols, turning small coins into ambassadors of Australia's unique natural heritage. When we look at the technical specifications of the 1995 5-cent coin, we see consistency with the standard specifications introduced in 1966. The coin was minted in cupronickel alloy, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silvery appearance and durability against wear. It has a diameter of 19.41 millimeters, a thickness of about 1.30 millimeters, and a weight of 2.83 grams. The edge is reeded, a feature that helps prevent counterfeiting and also makes the coin tactilely distinct from smooth-edged coins. These physical properties were chosen carefully to balance practicality, durability, and usability in vending machines and daily handling. Over decades, the 5-cent coin's small size and light weight made it one of the most easily recognizable coins in the series, even as its purchasing power gradually declined due to inflation. The mintage of the 1995 issue was in the tens of millions, making it a common circulation coin. Unlike certain years in which mintages were low or coins were struck only for collector sets, the 1995 5-cent coin was produced in large numbers for everyday use. This means it is not particularly scarce today, and examples in circulated condition are worth only face value. However, uncirculated specimens, especially those in brilliant mint state or included in official mint sets, hold greater appeal for collectors. The Royal Australian Mint in Canberra was responsible for striking these coins, ensuring high production standards. Collectors sometimes look for varieties, errors, or proof issues that add uniqueness to an otherwise common coin, but for the 1995 issue, no widely recognized major varieties have been documented, making it a straightforward collectible. The cultural context of Australia in 1995 is also worth reflecting on. The mid-1990s were a time of political debate and social change, as Australia grappled with questions of national identity, republicanism, and its place in the Asia-Pacific region. Discussions about whether Australia should remain a constitutional monarchy or become a republic were intensifying, and coins bearing the Queen's portrait were sometimes viewed through the lens of this debate. At the same time, the 5-cent coin remained a humble but indispensable part of commerce, used for everyday purchases such as newspapers, small groceries, or rounding off totals. Its presence in daily life meant that it was one of the most familiar tokens of national identity, quietly connecting people to their money, their economy, and their heritage. For children of the 1990s, the 5-cent coin was often part of pocket money, savings jars, or schoolyard trades, embedding it in personal memories as well as national history. From a numismatic perspective, the 1995 5-cent coin fits neatly into the long series of Australian 5-cent coins minted from 1966 to the present. Collectors often group coins by obverse portrait, and the 1995 issue belongs to the Maklouf portrait era. 1985–1998. This makes it part of a coherent sub-series that is popular among decimal coin collectors. Since the coin does not have any rarity factors, its main interest lies in completing year sets, observing the progression of designs, and appreciating the artistry of Stuart Devlin's echidna motif. Proof coins struck in 1995 for collector sets represent the highest quality examples, with mirror-like fields and sharp detail that allow the echidna's spines and the Queen's portrait to be appreciated in fine detail. For the average person, however, the 1995 5-cent coin remains a nostalgic keepsake from an era when small change still had everyday utility. The symbolism of the echidna on the reverse cannot be overstated. As a monotreme, it is one of only 2 egg-laying mammals in the world, the other being the platypus, which appears on the 20-cent coin. Its presence on the 5-cent coin highlights Australia's extraordinary biodiversity and the uniqueness of its fauna. For international visitors, encountering the echidna on such a small coin serves as a reminder that Australia is unlike any other nation, home to animals found nowhere else. The echidna's spines represent resilience and protection, qualities that resonate with the broader story of Australia as a nation that developed in isolation, adapting to a harsh and varied environment. In this way, the 5-cent coin is not just a token of currency, but also a miniature emblem of national pride. By 1995, some economic commentators were already questioning the future of the 5-cent coin, given that inflation was eroding its purchasing power. Yet the coin persisted, and it continued to be issued annually for decades after. Today, discussions about removing the 5-cent coin from circulation have grown louder, as its practical utility has diminished, but in 1995 it was still an unquestioned part of daily life. In hindsight, the 1995 coin represents an era when cash transactions were still dominant, before the rise of contactless payments, digital wallets, and a gradual shift toward a cashless society. Holding a 1995 5-cent coin today is like holding a piece of that world, a time when coins jingled in every pocket and small change mattered in a very tangible way. In summary, the 1995 Australian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is far more than a tiny silver-colored disc. It is a piece of art, bearing the refined portrait of the Queen by Raphael Maklouf and the uniquely Australian echidna design by Stuart Devlin. It is a historical marker, belonging to the period when decimal currency had become deeply established in Australia. It is a cultural object, tied to memories, habits, and debates of the 1990s. It is also a technical achievement, crafted from durable materials and struck to high standards by the Royal Australian Mint. While it may not be rare or valuable in monetary terms, its significance lies in its role as a window into Australia's economic, political, and cultural story in 1995. For collectors, historians, and everyday Australians alike, the coin stands as a small but enduring symbol of the nation's identity and its place in the wider world. Next coin. The 1989 Australian 5-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II represents one of the essential circulating coins of late 20th century Australia, a piece of metal that, though small in face value and in size, embodies layers of symbolism, history, artistry, and economic significance. Like many of the world's smallest denominations, it is often overlooked in daily life, yet for numismatists, historians, and those interested in cultural heritage, the 1989 issue holds special interest because of the portrait style, the design choices, and the way it fits into the larger narrative of Australian coinage. To hold such a coin is to hold not just a tool of commerce but also a miniature historical document reflecting Australia's national identity in the late 1980s, when both the country and the world were in transition. To understand the 1989 5-cent coin, we must step back to the story of decimalisation. Australia abandoned the pounds shillings pence system on the 14th of February 1966, introducing the dollar and cent structure that is still in place today. With this reform, 6 denominations of coins entered circulation: 1 cent, 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, and 50 cents. The 5-cent coin replaced the old sixpence, which had a comparable size and purchasing power. Stuart Devlin, the Royal Mint's official goldsmith and jeweler, was commissioned to design the decimal coins, and he created a series that celebrated Australia's unique fauna and culture. The 5-cent coin was assigned to the short-beaked echidna, Tachyglossus aculeatus, one of the most distinctive creatures on Earth. By 1989, the coin had already been circulating for 23 years, and while inflation had gradually reduced its spending power, it remained indispensable in completing everyday transactions. On the obverse side of the 1989 5-cent coin, we find the third official portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Maklouf. Introduced in 1985, this effigy depicted the Queen in a more formal and idealized style than her previous portraits by Mary Gillick, 1953-1965, and Arnold Machen, 1966-1984. Maklouf portrayed Elizabeth II wearing the George IV state diadem, a highly decorative crown that features roses, shamrocks, and thistles as symbols of England, Ireland, and Scotland. The portrait aimed to present the Queen as a timeless figure of dignity and authority, almost without age, in contrast to the more realistic approach of earlier designs. Around the portrait appears the inscription, Elizabeth II Australia 1989, identifying both the monarch and the issuing nation, as well as the year of minting. This inscription also reflects the continuing bond between Australia and the Crown, as Australia in 1989 remained a constitutional monarchy within the Commonwealth of Nations. On the reverse side, the 1989 coin carries Stuart Devlin's enduring design of the short-beaked echidna. The echidna, sometimes called the spiny anteater, is a monotreme, meaning it is one of only two mammals in the world that lay eggs, the other being the platypus, which features on Australia's 20-cent coin. Devlin's design shows the echidna curled protectively, with its spines fanning outward and its long snout pointed downward, searching for ants and termites. The number 5 appears boldly below the creature, denoting the denomination. This design has remained unchanged since 1966, making it one of the most stable coin motifs in Australian history. Its longevity speaks to its artistic success, as it manages to combine accuracy, symbolism, and visual appeal in a compact form. For Australians, the echidna on the coin is more than just decoration, it is a reminder of the country's unique wildlife and natural heritage. Looking at the technical specifications, the 1989 5-cent coin was minted in cupronickel alloy, consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silvery metallic sheen. The coin measures 19.41 millimeters in diameter, weighs 2.83 grams, and has a thickness of about 1.30 millimeters. Its reeded edge serves both a functional and aesthetic purpose. It helps prevent counterfeiting, assists visually impaired people in distinguishing coins by touch, and adds texture to the otherwise small piece. These specifications had been standardized since 1966, ensuring that the coin was recognized easily by vending machines and compatible with the broader decimal system. The small size of the coin made it lightweight and easy to carry, though it also meant that many were easily lost or forgotten, slipping between couch cushions or into the corners of drawers, a fate common to low-denomination coins worldwide. In terms of mintage, the 1989 5-cent coin was struck in large numbers, running into the tens of millions, by the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. As such, the coin is considered common in circulation, with no particular rarity. Collectors can easily obtain circulated examples, but uncirculated specimens or proof versions hold greater interest. The Royal Australian Mint also produced proof sets and mint sets in 1989 that included the 5-cent coin, struck with extra care to achieve sharp details and mirror-like finishes. These special strikes are popular among collectors and preserve the echidna design in its finest form. While the circulation coin is not valuable beyond its face value, proof and mint set coins can fetch higher premiums in the numismatic market, especially if preserved in pristine condition. The economic and social context of Australia in 1989 gives further depth to the story of this coin. The late 1980s were a period of both growth and uncertainty. Australia was experiencing the tail end of an economic boom that would soon give way to a recession in the early 1990s. Inflation had been a persistent issue throughout the decade, which meant that the purchasing power of the 5-cent coin had declined compared to the mid-1960s. By 1989, 5 cents could buy little more than small lollies, a portion of newspaper cost, or help round off totals in shops. Despite its diminished economic clout, the coin retained symbolic importance. It was still an essential unit in the decimal system, necessary for accurate pricing, and it carried with it the presence of the Queen and the nation's wildlife. It was also a teaching tool for children learning to count money, as small coins like the 5 cent were commonly given as pocket change or savings. From a numismatic perspective, the 1989 5-cent coin is significant because it belongs to the Raphael Maklouf portrait era, 1985–1998. Collectors often divide Australian decimal coins by obverse effigy, as each new portrait of the Queen marks a distinct phase in coinage history. The Maklouf portrait was particularly recognizable, with its elegant lines and more stylized appearance, and the 1989 issue demonstrates this effigy at its midpoint. For those building type collections, the coin is a necessary inclusion, even if it is not rare. Some collectors also enjoy assembling complete year sets of Australian coins, and the 1989 set includes the 5-cent coin as an integral piece. Although no major die varieties or errors are commonly associated with this year's 5-cent, error coins such as misstrikes, double strikes, or off-center strikes can occasionally surface and are prized by specialists. The symbolism of the coin's imagery deserves deeper reflection. On the one hand, the obverse links Australia to its British heritage and constitutional monarchy, affirming loyalty to Queen Elizabeth II, who was both a global figure and the reigning monarch of Australia in 1989. On the other hand, the reverse celebrates Australia's indigenous natural world, specifically the echidna, a creature unlike any found in Britain or Europe. This dual symbolism highlights Australia's identity in the late 20th century, still tied to its Commonwealth roots but also increasingly asserting its unique character and independence through its cultural symbols. The coin, in its small way, embodies this tension and harmony, showing how money can act as both a political and cultural medium. It is also important to note that coins like the 1989 5-cent piece hold personal significance for many Australians. For those who were children or young adults in the late 1980s, this coin was part of daily life, used in shops, buses, vending machines, and piggy banks. For some, memories of saving up small coins like the 5-cent are tied to childhood experiences, pocket money, and small treats. Over time, such coins accumulate sentimental value, becoming tokens of memory as well as monetary tools. Even though billions of such coins were produced, each one passed through countless hands, carrying individual stories and small moments of human history. From a global perspective, the 1989 5-cent coin also fits into a wider trend of nations using coinage to assert national identity while maintaining ties to traditional institutions. Many Commonwealth countries continued to feature Queen Elizabeth II on their money, but paired her image with local symbols, flora, or fauna. Australia's choice of the echidna reflects its commitment to showcasing its uniqueness to the world. For travelers visiting Australia in 1989, receiving a 5-cent coin as change was often their first tangible encounter with the country's exotic wildlife, making the coin a miniature ambassador of national pride. When reflecting on the legacy of the 1989 Australian 5-cent coin, it is clear that while the coin may seem insignificant in monetary terms, it remains a vital part of the story of Australia's coinage. It illustrates the nation's design traditions, its relationship with the monarchy, and its enduring pride in its natural heritage. Today, the 5-cent coin continues to circulate, though its usefulness has been eroded even further by inflation and the shift to digital payments. There are debates about whether the coin should eventually be withdrawn, but as long as it remains, coins like the 1989 issue remind us of an earlier era of commerce, when small change was an everyday necessity and coins were tangible markers of value. For collectors, the 1989 issue is not about rarity or wealth but about completing a picture of Australia's coinage history, about holding a piece of the 1980s in one's hand. Please like and subscribe to my channel.